What's up, everyone? Your favorite League of Legends esports show is back. It's Power Spike with dGon, Dom, and Monty to break down everything that happened over at MSI.
I've decided I don't like your schedule. I've decided I don't like it.
Oh, bro, I'm on this shit for like 8 months out of a year. Like,
I know it's horrible.
it's so bad, bro. Like, today was a fucking horrible one. Like, because what happens is I just become progressively more and more tired, and then at some point I just start getting sick. Because I'm normally like sleeping like 2.5 hours, 3 hours a night. It's like the actual sleep I get. So eventually, what happens is it just goes on for long enough. I just start becoming sick.
Yeah, it's hard to. I put some blackout curtains here at the temporary spot I'm staying at, and it's still just as soon as you hear the noise, like it's really hard to sleep past like 11 or 12. So matches end at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. You're just on 4 hours, and I'm
on the opposite one. I wake up for it, so I try to go to sleep at like 7, 8 p.m. and then I just sleep until like 11.
That's brutal, man. That's brutal. Yeah, I just skip the day, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll see if I can do everything in from like 3 to 5 before things close. Any T1 bettors out here?
T1 do that because you always get terrible odds. So probably people got very good odds on BLG today. Because apparently I was told by everybody on social media that BLG was fucking terrible. I was told this repeatedly over and over.
Probably even more than you were told it, Monty.
Actually, I was told every team is terrible. Every single team at this tournament is terrible, which is amazing because I've seen some really good games at this tournament to the degree that like this entire bracket's basically been a banger. The games we thought would suck in the quarterfinals in the upper bracket were actually pretty good.
Yeah.
The PSG game,
I mean,
right?
if you only read social media, you legitimately think that Fnatic has outperformed top esports at this tournament. Like, you legitimately think that. Like, Fnatic got so much praise for getting like 3-0'd by Gen G. It's like they didn't lose at all stages of the game. They're so fucking amazing. Like, it's so weird how narratives form in this community. Like, I don't know, man. There's just no credit given to the teams that are actually good. But, you know, it is what it is, bro. BLG just suck. We saw it today. Like, they're just a terrible team. They have no strengths. They're just really overrated by everyone. What happened was all the analysts got together and they decided to just lie to you guys because no one watches the LPL. So they just were all paid by China to just giga overhype the Asian teams. The Chinese team specifically.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about T1 fans and kind of overrating things based off of past like levels, the bot lane, right? Elkin on stepping up and kind of proven it throughout the series against Guma and Keria. Like that to me, I felt was very, very definitive in terms of the strength between these two duos that have been compared back and forth. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do you think the next kind of defense will come from here, Dom, by the T1 fans on this one?
I mean, I don't know, bro. Like pretty much what happens is like when T1 plays bad, people just say like, oh, they're just playing bad right now. They just need to start like getting into form and playing better. I think the problem for T1 is that the meta right now is not one where they can like.
Rules are so wacky right now.
The meta right now is not a one where you can just like giga abuse top and bot lane. Like you're pretty much able to, if TF and Vayne are not given really good angles into K'Sante, like if they're banned out or K'Sante's picked into ban fates, like if you're not just blinding the K'Sante into TF or Vayne, you pretty much just end up in like tank versus tank matchups topside or matchups that aren't really winning. So Zeus doesn't have that advantage over everyone anymore, where he can just like pick Aatrox and you don't have any answer to it. But if you pick Aatrox, then he picks Yone into you, and it's like he's always winning top. And then the bot lane doesn't have enough of the like really oppressive 2v2 lanes that they were good at before, that they were like the best at before. They're not good at it to the same degree that they would just smash you bot. So now what ends up happening is that they're ending up in a lot more of these like even 5v5s around like mid, around Drake, around Baron. And that's never been the strength of T1. T1 was a team that would like kind of smash you through lane and then carry that throughout the game. And they would make like relatively clutch calls and have like big plays sometimes, but they weren't a team that had really insane setups ever. Like Gen G always has had better setups. Like in the last 2 years of gameplay, Gen G has always had better setups around objectives than T1. So BLG also has insane setups, and BLG is also better in lanes. So that's why I feel like the series felt pretty dominant from BLG. Even though they did end up dropping a game to T1, it never really felt like T1 was a better team than BLG. It felt like T1 was a good team, and BLG is even better. That's how I
and
felt.
before we get so much hate and all that stuff, T1 is one of the best teams in the world. They are a top 4, maybe top 5.
That's what people can't
team.
understand. That's what people can't understand, dGon, in these conversations. It's like, that's what we get at MSI now, is a double limb bracket with 4 of the very best teams in the world. And then sometimes
And
G2,
G2.
when they're good. But I had also been saying, I was flamed for this when I said repeatedly, I think G2 is a top 8 team in the world. I got flamed for it repeatedly, over and over and over again. Like, I think we can all agree G2 probably better than D+.
Yep.
Now we can at least.
Yeah.
But they definitely have the talent, and when you put them there long enough and they have enough time to boot camp. But anyway, I think T1 is in an interesting spot because Faker's effective champion pool is really not great right now, and I think this was the first time that anybody really keyed in on that for BLG and like tried to squeeze his champion pool. And I think it was really effective. We ended up with Veigar and Akali, who did fucking nothing.
It's a horrible Veigar angle, by the way. It's a really bad Veigar angle. If you look at when he picked the champion, he's picking so essentially when you want to pick Veigar is when you're playing into like short range comps that are relatively squishy. Like that's what you're looking for.
He used to be an Ahri counter to just cage the Ahri like 2 years ago as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Ahri counter. I mean, it's just good versus a bunch of melee champs. It was decent into Akali. It was like, that was the original Akali counter when Akali was broken, because Akali has to go in, has a bunch of dashes. You put the cage around her, then you like can hit your spells, and you're too tanky with your build to be like one shot. That's the idea. But I mean, yeah, I would say I disagree with your point overall, because Faker's played 82 champions in competitive play, Monty. So yeah, he's played 82, which is way more than Knight's played in competitive play.
And he's still equally good at all of them as he always was. I forgot. Fuck.
Yeah, that's how League works. Like, you never get like rusty at any champions. It's not like I've played League for like 13 years, but whenever I take a 2-month break, I have to play like 2 weeks of League before I start playing at all like a human again. And I'm just consistently good. It's like you just hit a level and then you're just that level forever, because nothing ever changes in the game. That's the thing about League, is there's no patching, like nothing is dynamic. There's no season changes or anything. It's just the same every time. It's like basketball. So once you like develop one skill set, it just stays forever.
So the other thing too is the bot lane, right? When you can like, the Ashe is just a must ban, as I think FlyQuest and teams have learned. You just don't give them the Ashe, and it is kind of
up game 4.
they did, and they didn't take it. I thought it was weird that we didn't want to take the Ashe. We wanted to take Kalista Renata Glask instead. That was a weird one in my opinion. But if you don't give them the Ashe and they don't have like Varus Kalista like they did in game 5 against G2, it ends up being strange. So like, I think the Senna was baited out really effectively by BLG, because it's really like a lot of this is Carrier's champion pool, honestly, where, as we've discussed previously on the show, he somehow went from best Nautilus in world to forgetting how to play Nautilus. So now they can't pick it. And, at least with the Senna, he's able to do some of his wackier shit. Like, I don't know. I mean, Tom Kench isn't that wacky, but like the Orin support and other farming tanks that he plays in that bot lane, Scion if he's pinched too hard, right? But if you just ban the Senna away, or you bait it out, and the Senna was incredibly useless basically in all the games it was played, even by Elk in the final game, it wasn't doing anything.
I thought it was pretty decent, because it allows you to like, so it's not doing anything. It's not like making a big difference, but the Nautilus is essentially just free farming, and then you get like a super tank Nautilus, which is which is insanely good against the enemy team.
Only Carrier could play that.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you saw, like On played
made a lot of plays. Yeah, he was great.
He was great the entire series, and I think that having a tank Nautilus when the enemy team has low damage, because the enemy team is what? Kalista, which is a low damage carry.
Yeah.
Akali, Xin, Zac. There's like no damage on that team. By picking the Senna and just letting him free farm, and Senna can go around. I mean, he can like walk mid, harass Faker under turret. He can walk around with the Nidalee. They can control space together. I think it's very annoying to play against, because
good setup for Nidalee too, potentially. So
yeah. Really good setup. You saw the combo, the Nautilus ulti into Spear that reveals the Akali and Shroud. So like you can just send it on Akali in ways where you normally can't, right? Because Akali will just Shroud and she's gone. So I thought overall, like I thought the approach, the strategy from BLG was much better than the T1 Senna Tom Kench. The Senna Tom Kench, I'm just not that much of a fan of.
Yeah, you were saying that on your stream. It just felt like they got baited on there. Can you explain that a little bit more? Just why was the Senna not like? Why did you not like that one?
You just don't even like. You don't get any souls.
Yeah. So the way that you get souls on Senna now, because they've nerfed like the way you get souls when you farm and the way you get souls when you are a supportive champion when you're not farming, when you're fasting. So what happens is the way that you actually are supposed to be getting souls is you need to hit other champions. Like you could collect souls by using a spell or just
auto
hitting a
queue
champion
auto,
twice, right?
or,
Yeah, like auto queue, whatever. So right now, if you're playing these types of lanes, like for example, the Gumo is playing, where you're playing against double range, you're playing against Kalista Renata, you're playing against Lucian Nami, you just don't get souls because you can never hit them back. You're just trying to survive the whole time. And I feel like the Tom Kench helping the Senna survive is not as useful as having a Nautilus that is actually going to be able to engage later on in the game, because the Tom Kench is peeling for a Senna that's not strong, where the Nautilus is actually enabling the Senna to be useful because the Nautilus engages, then you can like land your ult on top of the team and you can fight. I think that the game game one should have been way more commanding from BLG, but it was just that Keria landed those really good two Nautilus W or Tom Kench W's, but I don't think those Tom Kench W's are like realistic plays. Like it's very hard to land a Tom Kench W against people that, you know, are playing Kalista and they're moving around and stuff like that. So it was clutch by Keria, but I don't think that that is an easily repeatable play to make. So it wasn't something that I felt good about going into the other games.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Keria in I think it was game 3 with Faker. They just kind of ran it down mid and just hopped on in as I think Knight flew on in with the Weaver's Wall. So just a tough day in the office for T1, and it feels like we're starting to see some infrastructural champ pool issues that I feels like it's not going to be fixed very easily.
I mean, it's just like apparently they just what's weird about T1 too is they had a lot of priority on Lucian Nami kind of towards the end of the regular season, and then it's just completely tapered off now. Like they just don't play it anymore. Despite the fact that it was up for a lot of this series, they've really like narrowed in on the Senna Tom Kench for this matchup. You know, and Faker, his Corki game wasn't that good. I think Knight's Corki game was worse, but you know, Faker's Corki game wasn't
horrible.
great.
I mean, LPL
was
Corki
really
is disgusting.
that Corki was really bad, for like hilariously bad.
It's so bad. I watched it all year. Like every time Corki was locked in, I made so much money betting on LPL, betting against Corki, like all the time. Like anyone locked it in, I just bet on the other team. Like it was what it was. They're just terrible at it.
I mean, Cream has been doing all right. Cream did okay.
I mean, he looked horrible in LPL before he pulled it out and got a couple wins. I mean, he got wins versus TL. Like, who cares about wins versus TL?
The one he played against Gen G game 4 was pretty good.
Yeah, I would say that was the most legitimate one that I saw, but I mean, I don't know, bro. Like, I'm just not a believer in LPL Corki. I just don't think it matches like the strengths of the players. I think that LPL is really good at finding angles to take fights. Like, you saw it in these games, like the angles where they were getting like Maokai, Talia ults and stuff like that and finding fights. It was so hard to actually like do that in the game, to find all those, and that's what they excel at. But Corki can't do that. Corki's about getting to an objective and then like poking them off and then looking for like a package angle, but it's kind of weird to use package because it's kind of an engaged tool, but you can also be one shot. And teams like LCK teams understand Corki better, I think, because their main goal when they see Corki walking around with package,
that understands it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, even like T1, like I would say that even though Faker completely ran it down in game number 1 and got disgustingly shit on by Knight, like it was just a complete eyesore and atrocity of mid lane gameplay. I would say that his play around Drake was actually better. Like the way that he used package was slightly better. Like in between when he was running it down.
In between the time he got solo killed in lane and then the time where his Nexus exploded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
If we were to give, I guess, accolades out for this series, who was the best player on each team and who was the worst player on T1?
I'd say Faker was probably the worst player on T1 this series.
Faker's been the worst player on T1 in this tournament. Like, don't let his crazy Ahri game against G2 fool you from the fact that he was really bad for most of that G2 series and Caps was overall the better mid laner.
Yeah.
I think Faker it's been a rough tournament for Faker. And now that the Azir Orianna bans are coming through and the Talia first picks are starting, I think the panic is going to start to set in for Faker.
Yep. Teams are just going to squeeze this champion pool. And we saw teams do this actually in LCK in summer of like 2023, where it was just like, get Faker off. What was it? Azir and Nico at the time?
Azir and Nico, yep.
Yeah. You get him off Azir and Nico at the time, make him play as Jace, and it was just, they could never win. You know, it was just Genji hard 3-0ing them. And yeah, I want to see how they actually do in the losers bracket. They have a big test with TL coming up in that first round of losers bracket, so we'll see.
And we know Faker can't play Aurelion Sol now because we saw that, and it was depressing.
Horrible. But that's another champion that he played that counts in the champion pool. You see, this is how champion pool works, Monty. It doesn't matter how many champions you can actually perform on. All that matters is that you've like locked in the champion before.
I mean, I think Zeka technically has a winning record on Corki, which is just disturbing.
Yeah. Zeka Corki was pretty bad.
It was bad. It was terrible at the beginning of the split. It got better. It got better.
No, it was always terrible. It was terrible the whole time, dGon.
It got better in playoffs.
Yeah, it got better, man. What is Faker's current champion pool? If you're Coleman, you're looking at.
So here's the weird thing. I don't understand. Like even his Orianna laning, which was so dominant throughout most of spring, it suddenly got a lot worse. That's what I don't get. Is Faker had a really good spring split.
Yeah,
he had a really good spring split. He had a really good spring playoffs. Why is he so bad at in lane now? What happened?
I don't know. He might be playing against better mid laners. I know that's crazy. I know that if you watch fucking Doublelift, you're probably sitting there like, damn, this is like Knight's biggest achievement is solo killing Faker. Not winning MSI, not winning 4 LPL titles, not like beating T1 in a fucking series before winning this series. It was him solo killing Faker. He's gonna fucking go home and like write in his journal, today I solo killed Faker. I'm so fucking happy. Like send a fucking like postcard to his mother or some shit. Like, come on, man. Like the
problem with Doublelift's quote is that Doublelift. If you know Doublelift, you know he's actually humanly incapable of thinking from another person's perspective, which is like 99% of the reason why he behaves the way he does. And so he's thinking to himself,
if I clapped Faker,
it would be the greatest moment of my life.
It's so accurate. That is how NA players think. Like, fuck winning. Like, oh, I solo killed Faker one time. I look so good now. And then you just fucking post it on social media and you get your credit. Like, I mean, other people have bigger aspirations. Like, I think Knight is a little bit past the let me get one solo kill on Faker so I can retire a happy man. I think Knight has like aspirations to win this MSI, win worlds. Like, I think that is the level that he's after. It's same thing with like Chovy, right? Like, these guys are past the like, oh, I beat Faker one time. Knight has been a better mid laner than Faker individually for like 5 years.
He almost golden roaded last year.
He almost golden roaded last year. And we're talking about him solo killing as his biggest achievement. Please, bro, just kill me.
Knight, the man who lost one best of 5 in the entire year of 2023.
Yeah, it's just so crazy, man.
Today.
Yeah, this up and coming guy, Knight, you know, you got to kill on Faker. Oh boy. Who are our best performers? Hats off to who. I mean, obviously everyone on BLG I think had great moments, but who do you think was the best? Let's go with BLG first. Monty.
Let's see here. I mean, On had a good series, but I mean, everybody played pretty well. Bin, I guess the most surprising one for me was Bin, because now he's back on the Jax and like the top vein and performing on those picks when that really hasn't been his role this year.
Tower, yeah. He had plays.
Oh yeah, the Cassante play in the 2v1 or the 1v2 was really sick. It was really sick. So I mean, I guess the most surprising one was Bin, not because we don't know Bin is good, not because we don't know Bin randomly glows up every fucking MSI he performs in, but because he hasn't had a lot of these roles on BLG this year. He's been weak siding a lot of the time. So for me, it was quite pleasant and fun to see him back on the Jax, obviously. Jax was a good angle there into the Twisted Fate too. Because the thing about that draft was that the way the Korean teams have been playing into the Lucian is they find like targeted CC. So I think that's actually why the Veigar was selected, was because he would the idea is that when the Lucian walks up, you have RFC on Twisted Fate and you have Veigar ult and you just nuke him. But Bin is playing the Jax feels real good into that Twisted Fate lane, so they found another angle for it, which I
mean,
enjoyed.
he's just the best Jax player of all time.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, like it's
So
crazy how good he is on that champ.
So they gave him a good Jax matchup, and shockingly, he picked Jax.
It's so crazy how like traumatized everyone is that follows LPL from Bin Jax. Like over the years, like I saw it from so many different people. Like as soon as the TF was locked in and there's like even an outside possibility of a Jax angle, like I'm saying it, Dagda says it on the cast, like fucking Cadril says it, like Amato said, like all of us are instantly like a Bin Jax is coming. Like it's like you see the fucking flashbacks of how like, oh, there's an angle for it. Like this guy. Yep. In LPL, this shit is kind of still a perma ban. Like in Top Esports was banning it, for example, versus Bin in finals. So people in LPL, they respect the Bin Jax. Like that is a fucking really powerful pick for BLG.
Wait, who's your pick for best player then today, Dom?
I would say On. I thought On was like pretty fucking good throughout. Like that guy is crazy.
Boom. T1 fall into BLG. BLG will move on. Again, a great series there for the LPL #1 seed. And we talked about it earlier. This tournament has been a lot of fun. When you think about it, we also had that other series that happened today where let's give the flowers to G2. They got the win. It did cost a little bit of sweat there at the very beginning. EU fans started to get a little scared. Their #1 seed gonna get knocked out by the PCS representative. Always there, but they close it up in a 3-0 fashion. Caps looked very, very good. And G2 move on 3-0. What do we make of that series, Monty?
Caps is just such a fucking monster right now. Like, legit question: is Caps the best mid laner that we've seen at MSI? Even Chovy. Chovy's look good. It hasn't been Chovy's fault that they've been losing games, but I mean, I think it's like Chovy and then probably Caps. But Caps' performances have been very encouraging. I don't think we'll say that by the end of MSI, because obviously I expect people like Knight also to continue to step up. And Cream is getting better. Cream has just had a rough start to his first international event, but he's been getting better. So, but I mean, Caps has been truly world class at this event. And I don't think Maple has struggled this tournament. Maybe not as much as Woody. Woody is truly terrible. He is truly terrible.
Yeah, he's not good.
Betty played.
He's not
Betty
what I call
good, despite
Lucio bad, but he's bad.
Jesus. Yeah,
we don't need to call it that. Come on, man. Let's call it just bad. Let's just call it bad.
Lucio is pretty terrible.
He was real bad
this tournament.
and also in LCS playoffs, whenever his knees get weak and his palms get sweaty, that's when the mom spaghetti comes out everywhere, and he can't push his keys any longer.
He runs it down, and then he's like, "But look at my cactus named after Whippo." Like, I was like, "We're never winning shit, bro." Like, as soon as I saw the fucking cactus, like it was over for me.
I forgot.
It actually just ruined my life. I was like, this is who I'm counting on to fucking take us to the promised land.
He's got it, man. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. I believe in him. All right. Okay. Woody was.
By the way, lost to PSG. So think about that. You lost to this iteration of. You lost to 2024 Maple and fucking Toy Story guy. Come on.
All right. Well, okay. What did we learn about G2 from this last series here, Dom? Actually, let's go back to that point that Monty was saying in terms of Caps and where they are, where Caps is in terms of ranking of mid laners at the tournament right now in terms of power level.
Right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I still think he's. I guess we'll see versus Cream. I mean, I think he's probably like around the 4th, 5th best. Like, I don't think that he's better than like than like Chovy. I still don't think he's actually
I don't
better
think he will
than
be
like
by the end
Icarus.
of the event, but I think in the games that we've seen so far, he's been very good.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't just like, for me, it's like, okay, there's the games we've seen so far, but like, how do I actually like rank him? Like, I think that other players have been playing worse than they are. You know, like I thought that Cream showed up in the Genji series, but up until the Genji series, like, I mean, he
Yeah.
just wasn't even himself, right? So,
Sure.
like, if you could ask me right now, like, who's a better player, like overall, I would probably say I think Cream is a better player, but Caps is like exceptional for a Western player. The fact that he's in this conversation at all just shows like how good he is. But we'll see, bro. Maybe he takes out Cream. Like, he has a lot more experience in international tournaments, right? So who knows what level of Cream we get? Maybe Cream punches up to, you know, the fucking Genji level, but when he's playing versus players that he's
Has
supposed
anybody,
to beat,
and now that Cream's on top esports, has anybody made the joke that Cream rises to the top yet? Because I feel like that has to be made.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one yet, and I love those kind of things.
As a free one for the casters.
There you go. We'll see that matchup on Tuesday morning in North America. It'll be Tuesday. It's Tuesday for the rest of the world, actually. Yeah. So Tuesday will be that matchup. Top Esports versus G2 to see Cream rise to the top. Shout outs to Junjia. I think he acquitted himself well. Betty, I think, played well in that last series.
Betty Aji also not bad.
Aji had some plays. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see this PSG find another way to level up, even though Maple's starting to, I guess, age out a little bit, and they definitely know Woody probably isn't the guy, like moving forward long term. Like, I don't know who you get, but you know, the rest of the team, you know, did well. So okay. Great. That was our series for the day, where we got to see BLG take the victory, G2 continue their tournament on, T1 have to regroup, and PSG have to fly home. We had some great play out of the jungle. And speaking of jungle, yeah, you like that one?
Good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Thank you. Speaking of jungle, I have to introduce our friends here to a new sponsor here on Power Spike. It's our friends over at Manscaped. If you all like to have some clean jungle play, well, Manscaped has you covered here. And you know, if you haven't gotten a Father's Day gift yet for your dad, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped. And you know what? That means that we've got you covered. It's the leaders in below the waist grooming. Maybe your pops has had a bush for a little while, and that's okay. Our friends at Manscaped have crafted the total package for this special day, his special day for Father's Day.
Or
Whether
I
it's for the
was
boys
saying Mother's Day is on Sunday, right?
That's right.
It's today. So make your mom happy by cleaning up your dad. See?
Yeah.
Boom.
And then don't think about it.
I thought you were gonna go if your mother's a man, like angle, like
yeah. I was not ready for that handoff, but that worked out.
Monty,
It's trust. It's just trust.
Right.
We're gonna make it. Our MSI isn't over yet, so we're still practicing and leveling up as well. Head on over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code LFN to go from daddy to zaddy. Trust Manscaped. Thanks to our friends over at Manscaped. Your boy has used it. I think I used it last week, and let me tell you, I felt very safe. I feel very clean. And everything is great. So, you know, shout outs to our friends over at Manscaped.
I also used it, dGon, and my wife said it was hot. So there you go.
Boom.
Perfect.
Testimonial as well. Thanks, Susie.
I'll tell you. I'll get her to record it for our next one. All right.
Yeah.
Boom.
Perfect. I there's nothing that I want more than a Lil Susie review on Monty's balls.
Exactly. That's what you
exactly
all want.
what I've been waiting for.
You all want it.
It's the reason I do the show, to be honest. Jesus.
This all-in-one kit comes with the beard hedger.
Yeah.
Manscaped's most advanced beard trimmer, as well as shampoo, conditioner, oil, and balm for your dad's beard if you're buying it for Father's Day. It also comes with a brush, comb, and scissors so he can style his beard and mustache like the true gentleman he is. And of course, no beard kit would be complete without the Manscaped Handyman's face shaver for that smooth finish he knows he loves. This is the bad boy All right, this bad boy is all he needs. Compact enough to fit in any travel case. Like I've been on the road. I was able to travel around with it. Make sure that he takes it on his next trip. So one more time, get 20% off and free shipping using the code LFN at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using the code LFN. Never forget where you came from, if you know what I mean. Thanks. And happy Father's Day from Manscaped. Thanks to our friends over at Manscaped. Yeah. Boom.
It's great.
Again,
I really enjoyed it.
we only use I'm telling you, we use all the products that we give you guys. They're
want you guys
tight.
to appreciate. I had to hunt this one down for a while. So I finally got it, which I'm very happy about.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get Manscaped for the sack. I feel like the partnership would work so well. Manscaped sponsored by, or like the sack sponsored by Manscaped. It would be such a good angle, but it is what it is.
Oh, okay. All right. The sack Manscaped. All right. And again, LFN, the code LFN over at manscaped.com. Next up, we've got ourselves the fraud alert. It's time. That's right. EU fans, cover your ears. NA1, EU0. What the fuck is a kilometer? We got some frauds here. Let's get to it. Fnatic is on trial. They're guilty, but we're going to do the trial anyways. It's time for fraud alert. All right, guys. Fnatic went in. They looked better. It was a good loss that Fnatic had. TL looked bewildered. Impact had an interview where he said they were just a better team than us. Things were not looking good for the North American squad. APA questions about this guy, the young guy. Again, chokes in international play. Hasn't been on the team that long. Isn't that good? All he does is types. Who was it that told him just shut up? Like
Tian.
Tian
just said shut up, which is super funny, by the way.
Bro, I love the interview because normally when we have those interviews with people and like they're like, oh, this guy was typing to you, how do you feel? Every single player, regardless of if it affected them or not, is gonna be like, yeah, I don't really care. Like I type myself, like I just love it. It makes the game more fun for me. Like they always fucking go with that angle. But like Tian in the interview was like, yeah, my mid laner looked nervous because of it. Like so I told him to shut up because he was making my mid laner upset. like my mid laner was just like a rookie playing his first international. He didn't appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Well, at least we know that APA got the positive feedback from the first series because he did it again, and it looked like Fnatic didn't 100% know how to respond. He's like, "Are you trolling on stage?" And it's like, "Yeah." And to be honest, the play, it wasn't the humanoid that we saw earlier in the tournament, where humanoid was going hero mode in the TES series back in play-ins. And Fnatic, you have questions about Oscar, you have questions about Noah. Whereas on the opposite side, Jan looked good, APA looked good, Impact looked good. Like, man, where do we go with that series? And more importantly, how fraudulent do we find this Fnatic team now that their run is over?
Look, I think we're all impressed by Jun. It was a little weird that they kicked Trimby off this roster and replaced it with Jun, but I think we're finally starting to see why that was through LEC playoffs and now through this tournament. Humanoid had some good international games, as he typically does, but this series versus Team Liquid is very disturbing, I think, for Fnatic. I have been praising Liquid's macro for a long time, and it is true that Yun stepped up. It's also true that APA has had the meta just hit him right in the center of his champion pool. Talia, Aurelion Sol being meta at the same time, pretty good for APA. But he had a good series. I think Noah is just not good at League of Legends. I know this guy came in with a pop and some fanfare, and he had that massive KDA, and everybody was talking about it.
Yeah.
And he was playing aggressively, and he was flashing aggressively, and he basically has just been on a downward slide since his debut, which is very weird. So I don't know what's going on, but
I feel like it's not that weird, actually. Like, so many players have this trajectory, but we just like refuse to acknowledge it. Like, for some reason, everyone's impression is that players start out and then they just get progressively better. Yeah, but then we see a bunch of players start out and just get worse. like over time, right? Like Tactical is a good example. I mean, we saw fucking like Isma in LEC like do the
That's
same
true.
thing. We saw players like Dan like in XL do
Yeah.
similar. I mean, we've seen this from a lot of different players, but it's just like it's just for some reason it's never accepted that this can happen.
We're throwing out Prince, X Kick. Ooh, I like this one. Throw it back to Mike Young, right?
Mike Young is another example. I mean, we've seen it before. Like, you should know me. I'm not going to list every single player this has ever happened to. The point is that it's like a common trend. And like, I think that sometimes you start out and you're good at certain things and you're good in a certain meta. And for some reason it's clicking and then you actually aren't able to consistently get better. It's actually more of the, like, to me, it's more of a surprise when somebody does consistently get better and better over time. Like, a lot of times I see players come in and they hover around the same level for
Milky Way going to be on fraud alert soon.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think Milky Way, this is like his base, and he's going to be even better next split necessarily, and he's going to be like by far the best jungler in LPL. Like, I think there's a chance where he just becomes like a middle of the pack jungler next split. Who knows? Like, players like On are really exceptions, where it's like they start out and they look terrible, and they get better and better and better, and they keep on getting better and better, and then they just keep. It's like, what the fuck? Where's the peak for this guy? Like, now I think
what happened with Smeb too. It was very weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Smeb
was literally the worst
Miracle.
top laner in LCK, and like he was fucking awful.
I remember,
and then he became the best top laner in the world.
he played with my friend actually, my fucking friend who was the mid laner of Incredible Miracle. I mean, his what name did he go under in competitive play? Like, let me see what his name was in competitive play.
This is a deep cut even for me. I don't know this one.
Let me see.
I don't know
chat.
which IM one you're Mid King. Oh yeah, Mid King.
Yeah,
he used to play on the NA server, but way back in the day.
Yeah. He had
before they released the Korean server. Yeah.
Yeah, he played with Mid King, I think.
Yeah. Wait, how did you become friends with Mid King?
Because he used to play on NA server. Like, he played on NA server, and then also, like, because I played with him so much on NA server when I went to Korea, he was rank 1 and rank 2 at the time. He is rank 1 by like 300 LP over his second account, which was also rank 2. And when I got high elo, I like played with him and stuff, and he recognized me from NA server and stuff. So we also used to like scrim on NA server. Like, he had a team where he would play with super high ping, and they were one of our main scrim partners when we were in
well, they had no other way to play Korea. Back in the day. This is before they released the Korean server. The Korean players did play on NA a lot.
Yeah.
And that was good practice for the NA teams. Like, I mean, that was that was the good practice for the Korean teams.
It was the only practice for them.
It was the only practice for them. But like back then, I mean, there wasn't many ways to practice. It wasn't like all the teams scrimmed. There was like, it was just TSM that really scrimmed. Like, we didn't even scrim that much. We'd only scrim at certain times. But most of the time, like, teams would practice by just playing like ranked 5s on the ladder at the time. Like, that's how like new the game was. So you just grind out rank 5s, and every now and then you'd fight a team like Mid King's team and play against them.
All right. We'll reel it back in. So Smeb, we saw the fall off from top laner, or fall off from players, or at least not the fall off. They started crap and then eventually get better, but everyone thinks it's linear. So what do we do with Noah then? What does Fnatic do with Noah? You can't do anything. You can't make any moves. You kind of like gotta roll with it.
I think there are a couple problems here, and that they were underscored in this series. So for one, I think Liquid really did a good job of like figuring out their drafts quickly, because I think Liquid's coaching staff is very good. Now, I could have told them that not to play Smolder at this tournament, but they decided that that's what they were going to do. And you'll notice they did not pick Smolder in this series. I think that was quite wise.
Yep.
But I also think that, they came out here, did an extended boot camp. Fnatic decided to take the money-saving route, which was to take the Riot flights and the Riot paid hotels a couple days before the event started. And I think that, Yun learned how to play Lucian by playing Lucian against Eastern teams in these scrims, because he looked a lot better. Like, they as a team played Lucian better, and he individually played Lucian better. And I think, even though Noah is Korean, not being able to boot camp with his team or adapt to the meta in the region and play in the better region does hurt you in the preparation for these events. And I think Fnatic was not as prepared as any of the other Western teams when FlyQuest did boot camp too. It didn't serve them well, to be fair. But, players that know how to elevate their play, like Humanoid. I mean, we know Humanoid is he has a lot of natural talent for the game. He just chooses not to activate it most of the time. But when he does, have a spark of inspiration, he can do very well. But I think for Noah too, I think Noah's really in his own head at this point also.
Oh yeah. He's a
I think
mega
he's
like
he's
he's
a
an
fucking mess.
anxiety-ridden player.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
fucking mess right now. So
You
I
can
think
see it
that's
on
probably
camera.
also
He's like
affecting
doing
his
like this.
play.
Like he like looks like this on camera sometimes, like after like a play. Like when you watch him play individually, when you watch him play solo queue or champions queue or anything like that, he looks really good. And then when he goes on stage, he looks terrible. And that's such a hard thing to like overcome. I'm not saying that he could have never overcome it. I don't even think he's just bad. I just think he's a mega choker right now.
He's got one of the multiple cases of the NAs. Usually it's your talent gets sapped, or you're not a stage gamer. You're a scrim gamer.
Yeah, it's just weird for me that I see him like tweet out stuff like he's like, I'm gonna show you why the fuck I'm the man. Fuck you, Thorin, you bitch. And then he just goes on stage and he looks like
Look,
so
all
crazy.
I'm saying, Tom, is I'm really looking forward to Summoning Insight on Monday when Thorin is inevitably going to talk about this, and I will just laugh.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna watch that. I do watch actually Summoning Insight. My favorite part of Summoning Insight is like the 40 minutes before you get into specific topics where you just like start
where we just get angry.
Yeah, you just get angry. My type of content. And people don't understand, like, okay, the type of content I produce and the type of content I like, it doesn't appeal to everyone, and it doesn't even appeal to the masses. But it's some good content if you're into that shit, bro. Like Thorin rants are like some of my favorite. You know,
They're very funny. That's the trash talk Doublelift hour.
Yeah. Oh, bro, I can't believe, like, just don't get me started. It's the ultimate one guy. It's a Twitch chatter with a megaphone. It is what it is.
All right. What is the fraudulency? Oh wait, let's talk about Oscar, because Oscar came into this tournament kind of like, maybe not a question mark, but we felt like Noah was. We had a watch on Noah, but Oscar was kind of like the point where when they played G2, it was like, man, you're just gonna get destroyed by Broken Blade. Maybe this is where we can upgrade. And it felt like Oscar, yes, he did the interview. He said NA is not very good, whatever. But I still think him and Humanoid came out pretty good from this tournament. What did you feel about Oscar
and Jun as well?
And Jun, yeah.
The problem with Fnatic is that they just don't have any kind of mid game. It's like, okay, the other question about Humanoid is like, did Humanoid come out looking pretty well? Because games that Humanoid should have closed with his leads, he would throw massive gold bounties back to the opponents. So, I mean, there's a big problem, I think, on Fnatic where they get advantages and then they overplay those advantages and then just throw.
I mean, they have no idea how to play the map. Like, if you looked at the sequences that like BLG and T1 were playing out today, where it's like one team has the advantage, like they get control of bot side and they use that control to not only just take the objective, they'll like leverage it into a turret, and then the enemy team will cross map, and then BLG will read the cross map and they'll like TP to the other side and then reassign the lanes. Fnatic would be so fucking lost if they had to try to deal with any team that does anything remotely close to this. And dude, I don't understand why Fnatic gets so much credit
they
for
can't
losing
even handle one TP.
Yeah,
I was really watching the lane swap in the 4th game of Fnatic Team Liquid, where Oscarinen knows where Impact is, knows where Umti is, and he literally walks into bot lane to like auto a turret with Noah instead of TPing to 3 waves on his own top tower.
Yep. Yeah, I
don't even know what they're doing. Like, they have the most practice. G2 did this to you. How do you not know how to do this now? It's like, hello, if you don't see their top laner and their jungler on that top side and the bot lane, if Yun and Core JJ are proxying the wave, you can't die as Cassante. So fucking just TP into the top side. It was so funny because there's like this picture in picture. The Chinese observers were literally trying to tell him to go TP outside.
Chinese observers love doing that, bro.
They got this like picture in picture, and it's just 3 waves just standing in front of the turret. And you're looking at the turret. There's nobody around the turret because the wave's being proxied. And I'm like, it's covering up the mini map. And I'm like, where the fuck is Oscar?
Yep.
Where's the TP? And then it just sits there. He doesn't do anything. You just watch the minion wave die. It shrinks down. And I literally am just watching Oscar just like Cassante punch this tower with fucking Noah. I'm like, what? Did we learn nothing? Did we learn nothing?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's really crazy to see those things like that. One thing I like about the Chinese observers though is like they normally are so brutal in the LPL.
They're
Like
pretty savage, man. Yeah.
they zoom in on every misplay, but if you noticed how they did the play-ins, they actually didn't even zoom in on misplays in the play-ins. Like they felt bad for like the VCS team and like fucking like Brazil. Oh my god, like they didn't do any of that bullshit they normally do because they normally go hard on it. They're like, look at how dog shit. They'll like slow-mo zoom in and then they'll like pan into like the player and the player's like no, like while it's fucking going on. Like it's so horrible the way that they do it. I mean, it's great. I personally love it, but like. It's not a nice way to go about it. They kind of view it as like a funny thing. I mean, here's an aside. They used to have a thing where it was like LPL funny moments, and it was just a highlight reel of just misplays. They released it every week. It was just how bad like some of the players played. It was just missed flashes and things like that.
By the way, I, on the LPL front, if you guys haven't seen that, big shout out to the LPL TikTok because that shit is fucking hilarious. Like the number of memes they edit into the LPL reels are like so funny.
Yeah. Their TikTok is good. Their TikTok is kind of popping off. They have like 200,000 followers on there now. So pretty fucking big. But yeah, I mean, about the Fnatic fall off, like I think that they got so much credit for getting 3-0'd by Gen G. I don't understand why everyone was like so happy with that 3-0. Like I was seeing like tweets, people were like, this was the best series I've ever watched in my life. Like this was the closest 3-0 of all time. And I was like, okay, like I could just name like a bunch of 3-0s. Like we had this fucking memento clown. This motherfucker like tweets that shit out. And then he's like, this is the closest 3-0 I've seen in a while. And I'm like, what about T1 versus Hanwha Life when T1 lost versus Hanwha Life? Like those games were significantly more competitive. It felt like a much higher level, closer best of 5. But for some reason, like we just have to just say ridiculous things. And then I responded with that. I'm like, how about Hanwha Life T1? I recommend you watch the series. And he was like, like, bro, like you're trying to make me look like an idiot. It's like, that was a while ago. I'm like, bro, that's like a month and a half. That was like one of the most recent best of 5. That's one of the most recent 3-0s we've had in competitive league. Like, besides for that, what did we have? We had Cloud9 FlyQuest, arguably like a closer 3-0. Like, I would say the game one was really close between Cloud9 FlyQuest in the upper bracket. I mean, there's a bunch of them, but for some reason, we just have to like overly dick stuff Fnatic because they're European. Like, I guess they kind of look like us. So great. Like we'll just over compliment them and then we'll pretend like top esports Gen G wasn't just a better series. It's just so weird, man. It's so fucking weird. The behavior is just pathetic.
All right, where are we at? What are we rating the fraudulency?
It's a look, this is what you need. This is what people need to accept. This is what people have to understand.
All right.
The tournament
Educate me.
for Fnatic was this. They beat GAM twice. They beat GAM, a team with 3 subs that just had the entire league banned for fucking match fixing. They beat GAM twice. They got 1 game off top esports, got 3-0'd by Gen G and 3-1'd by TL. How is that a good tournament? Like, am I the only one that thinks that this was like a pretty like mediocre tournament for them? That this like doesn't really show me anything? The way they lost to TL is how they should have always lost to TL. They have so much worse macro. Like they're so bad on the fucking map. They can only win by getting super far ahead individually. Why was this such a good performance from people? This was like a pretty average performance. Like, I don't know why EU fans are so hyped about like a team that got 3-1'd by the #1 seed for NA. I feel like they should have played like a competitive series with TL. And then maybe we could start talking about like, if TL looked really good and they got to 5 games and it didn't look like TL was a significantly better team, how it would look, or like how it would be, then maybe we can have this discussion. But I think this was like a pretty mediocre tournament. They're like 6 out of 10 frauds, 7 out of 10 frauds. That's not a good 2 seed from Europe. It's nowhere close to like when Fnatic and G2 used to go to tournaments before, and it was like old G2 being good, and like Fnatic was still making it out of group stage, and they looked pretty good versus like top esports and shit.
Remember, guys, we're old enough to recall when Fnatic was making like world semis and world's finals. Okay, so this is you guys saying that Fnatic looks like you're hyped about Fnatic or it looked good at this tournament is like Mark Z saying that LCS viewership is good. Like maybe it's better than you expected, but it's still nothing. It's way off its peak, guys. It's way past its prime. Way past its prime.
Look, it's the same thing that we were saying this whole time on the show. Like LEC is bad outside of G2. And even like people that are associated with LEC, like Young Buck, for example, came out and was like, this is the lowest level LEC has ever been outside of G2. Like G2 is still good. And I still respect G2, and I think that they do everything in their power to be the best team. I like their mindset. I feel like they're just the best Western team. But like Fnatic is nowhere close to G2. The fact that like G2 played that final and like had messy games versus Fnatic, that was a like bad look for G2. That wasn't Fnatic playing really well. That was like, G2, what are you doing in these lane swaps? Please stop lane swapping. You guys are like inting the whole series. You guys might lose to a team that's significantly worse than you. That's how it felt.
You know, you just put an idea in my head, right? Because something that they were saying on the broadcast was, this is the first ever best of series that Fnatic has lost in North America. 14 years of dominance.
Okay, so here's what I hate about these narratives is that they've had like a bazillion different players during that time, so it's completely irrelevant and pointless.
Right? But go ahead, Tom.
More important part, there's so many more opportunities for best of fives now.
Yeah. Honestly,
it's really just an indictment of Riot's shitty tournament circuit.
But also, this was the first best of 5. So all the other ones were best of 3s. This was the first best of 5. It got me thinking, because I think about the first season I started watching, the first season I watched live was the Cloud9 against Fnatic back in season 3.
Yep, best of 3 with the Kassadin.
Correct.
I remember it. Yep, remember it like it was yesterday.
If we were doing our show now, or if we were doing our show then, and we're like, oh, this Cloud9 roster, they're supposed to be the heroes of North America. What's the fraudulency scale of balls and lemon and, God, the Fnatic are so great, blah, blah, they're the Western hope, blah, blah. It just made me think, like, man, how much flame they would get then if they wouldn't be able to get it done.
So. No, this is the thing you don't understand. Me and Monty and I would still be just flaming the format. How dog shit was that format? Cloud9 was seeded into quarterfinals in that tournament. So you don't even play a group stage. You just get auto-seeded. The number 1 seeds used to get fucking auto-seeded into the quarterfinals. You don't even play a group stage. You just get auto-seeded into fucking quarterfinals and you play a best of 3 to determine your whole year. And that's like, that's it. Like, how disgusting was that format? What the fuck was that, man? Holy shit.
It was rather remarkable. It was rather remarkable.
That's crazy. Sorry, I'm not sure if you saw, but the cameras got T1 fans got to us, guys.
Oh God,
we trash talk Faker. We said he was the worst player on T1. Oh
I
God,
know. There was obviously latency because I switched the topic back to let's shit talk North America a little bit so that people don't get too mad. Okay. Yep. We'll shit talk Cloud9 11 years later.
So we should talk Cloud9 now too. They deserve it.
Well, yeah, we did. They don't deserve it right now.
I mean, they kind of do. I'll trash talk Cloud9 right now. You guys fucking lost to this FlyQuest team. What the fuck?
Yeah, this is a good hater angle. I like it. I appreciate this.
This was a super hater angle, man. That was a straight from nowhere months ago. That's a good one. Thanatos. There we go. Korean fans, please enjoy our I guess if you don't like TLCK, you can enjoy Thanatos in the top lane for Cloud9. All right, that is fraud alert with Fnatic. We rate him at 6 or 7. Let us know in the comments below.
9 out of 10.
FlyQuest 9. Well, yeah, we had that last week. FlyQuest 9 out of 10.
You see, dGon. The more I think about FlyQuest, the more I hate them.
Go on. Why is that?
I'm just so angry seeing the results of the rest of this tournament that they were so bad.
That's true. They are gonna have to figure it out.
Like, that roster of players has no right being as bad as they were.
Having results as bad as yeah, I guess they were bad. They were
really bad.
Sorry, FlyQuest fans. I tried. All right, let's move on. Next up, we got ourselves a little high key, low key, no key for the 6 teams still here. 4 teams down on the bottom side of the bracket with 1 loss remaining before they have to fly home. And 2 teams on the top that looking sitting pretty. 1 win away from sitting in the grand finals and being ready to go until the very end. So let's get into it. Who are our high key, low key, no key teams to win MSI? Let's say you can only put 1 team in high key and 1 team in low key. Everyone else has to be in no key.
Got it.
All right. So let's start with our Let's start with our high keyers because it feels like the suspense would be done the other way. Who is our high key favorites to win MSI?
BLG.
Yeah, I have
I
BLG.
I think after today's performance, it's not just recency bias. It's that BLG, the question was, were they going to return to the form we've seen in LPL? And the answer is yes. And Genji, I think still, I thought the Genji top esports series was excellent, but I'm concerned about Canyon's play. That was not amazing, especially by his standards. And I'm still concerned about their bot lane. And like with what we saw from BLG versus T1 today, I think they're probably the front runner at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean that's what I thought before the tournament. I have the same reasoning that I had before. Like, there's nothing that has made me believe that BLG is not going to be able to play through bot lane and like have strong 2v2s, have the good champion pool, bring Jun and Knight down there. Like they're playing the same style as they did in the LPL. They did it versus T1. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do it versus Genji, because Genji is a team that opens themselves up more to these bot lane plays than T1. T1 is I think better about like cutting their losses, but a lot of times like I'll see Genji play and their bot lane will get ganked. In games they lose, their bot lane will get ganked and they won't even answer it. They'll just like accept it. Like Chovy will stay in his lane. They won't like roam top or anything. And I think that this is something that could be a huge issue. I mean, maybe like obviously they're going to prep for it. They're going to try to remove key champions so BLG doesn't get to play their style, because you're not prepping for anything new here. Like BLG looked versus T1 exactly how you think they would look versus T1 if you were to just like do the math before the tournament and you weren't Doublelift. So then you like you know what's coming. How do you actually attack it? Like you've probably been prepping for this series, like low key prepping for this series, like in your mind for almost a month now.
I also think that it's even more true with the way that Genji, like we all knew this was going to be a tough matchup, probably because tough stylistic matchup for Genji. But it's also the way that Genji's been playing, like especially in this last series, Canyon was really playing very hard into the top side, like top side invading, playing off of Keen and Chovy's pressure. And, you know, BLG typically isn't even there. Right? You know, Jun is not in his own topside jungle. He's in your bot side jungle, right? So I don't know. I think like, you know, it could be like we could just see the map get cut in half. And I think Keen has been performing, but Canyon has also had some really like questionable moments where he's thrown or almost thrown games. And I kind of expected more out of him. I'm honestly like quite surprised he hasn't really leaned back into the Maokai yet, considering how core of a champion pick it was for him throughout this entire spring. Like the Sejuani's come back, but the Maokai hasn't come back yet. And I think we're starting to see people realize that Maokai is still extremely strong in the jungle. I'm not even really sure why it fell out. But we got to see some good Maokai games again, especially today. I mean, Jun had a good one today. So
yeah, he played really well on it today.
Yeah, he looked real good. But I think it's still a great champion. And I'm just like, I wasn't really a big fan of the Kazakhs in the finals, and I wasn't really a big fan of the Kazakhs here. I mean, his Nidalee was struggled out of the gate at this event. And you know, Canyon he just hasn't been the Canyon that, I mean, his Vi was like actively bad at times.
If you haven't watched Canyon since like 2022, because you only watch like international tournaments or whatever, and you didn't like you know Worlds, he didn't even make it out of Swiss. I feel like he's just not the same player anymore. He doesn't feel the same. Like he used to be this player where I would feel like he always just had such a knowledge gap on the enemy jungler when it came to like camp timings and pathings, that it would just be like he is up 30 CS and there's nothing you can do about it, and then he would just run the whole fucking game with that. He would just be stronger on every single objective. But now I feel like he has a lot more like errors in his game. Like he goes for invades that aren't 100% guaranteed, where before it felt like everything he did was really aggressive, but because of how the map was set up, it was going to work every single time. It was completely repeatable.
He just seems clueless too. He's sometimes clueless as to whether Chovy's even in mid lane when he can be. He's clueless about when he can be collapsed on. He's clueless about how far he can push his advantages without getting killed or sacrificing his summoners. It hasn't been a great. It hasn't been a great MSI for Canyon.
It kind of reminds me of the whole split in the first place, right? Him and Showmaker were the core of those damn one gaming D plus Kia teams, and maybe we've got a little Chovy Peanut action where he was being controlled by Showmaker before,
No, he was
and
being
now he's
controlled
got a
by
new
Ghost and Barrel. That's who he was being controlled by. Because if Showmaker was controlling him, he would have looked better when they left, but he didn't. So their macro fell apart. And he is, I mean, he is definitely Lehens and Chovy are the voices of this team. But and you know, he's had some very clean early games too. I don't want to say like he's trash. Like he's had some very good early games over this year, but it hasn't been with the level of consistency. And he seems to just get kind of lost in the sauce a lot of the time and be the one who gives up, you know, a pick at a pivotal moment. So I've seen, have seen a higher level now from like a higher ceiling at this tournament from BLG than we've seen from Gen G. Even though, you know, Gen G, they did get better from their first match into their second. I thought what they were doing with the Vayne top, it was actually very creative against Top Esports in game number 1 of the series they just played. And it was a big adaptation because the biggest problem that they had with the Vayne in the previous series that they played against Fnatic was that they were trying to do that tower dive with a level 1 Vayne without Condemn. And they ended up like having to blow 3 flashes. And it was really bad. And this time they're like, but what if we just zoned Cream Zakali off the wave and 2v1 the mid lane till Vayne gets 2, and then we do the dive? And I was like, that is a much better idea, Gen G. Well done. Yep. You figured it out.
I think the thing that I would have worried about, I mean, like, I still think that Gen G can definitely win versus BLG. I'm not thinking it's like
sure, no. They're both very good.
Yeah, they're both very good. And if one team plays,
we had to pick one high key. We're playing high key, low key, no key by dGon's rules, so we had to pick one.
I would say the thing that pushes me over the edge at this tournament specifically, because like originally I thought BLG was better. But I thought that maybe at this tournament, if LPL really struggles with lane swaps, because we had seen before this series, LPL was not doing well with the lane swaps, maybe that could be an angle where Gen G could get leads. And when Gen G gets leads, I feel like they're really consistent with how they progress the game. But I think that BLG today showed that they have like pretty good understanding themselves now of how to play out the lane swaps or how they want to play out the lane swaps, which is the most important thing. And I don't think that is a big advantage for Gen G the way I might have thought before today's series.
All right. So I'm going to be temperamental.
So Loki is Gen G, by the way, in case you couldn't tell.
No, that's what I'm gonna. That's why I'm changing. I'm changing the rules now. I'm gonna put them both in high key because it's very clear these two teams are the top teams. We get the dream matchup here in the upper bracket finals that Dom, I feel like I've heard you talking about for feels like months now. Like months you've been talking about these are the two best teams. I want to go see them go head to head, blah blah. And
we finally get the first Chovy versus Knight best of 5 ever.
Yeah, I'm just happy that like some of these random takes that I have that I just pulled out of my ass, one of them finally hit, you know? So it's like gambling, you know, I just throw them out there and see like if any of them can hit.
Yeah, you just luck that this one lucked out all the way through. These two teams will be our high keys. So now you can't pick Gen G as your low key. Who are the low key squads or squad? I'm going to make you pick one here.
I'm picking G2. I think they're going to be top. That's my spicy take. Top's very good.
I'm picking Top Esports.
Of course,
go ahead, Bonzi.
So I really like what we've been seeing from G2. G2 continues to be the G2 that we know. They have all of the positive attributes in terms of their unique champion pools. Sometimes they get themselves into trouble with those unique champion pools, but other times we get to see really cool Yasuo top into Twisted Fate, which is great. Very fun. Broken Blade's having a good event. Caps is obviously having a great tournament so far. Hansama has been questionable, but Mickey X, you know, people would have put Mickey X and said, Mickey X, wow, you were so great in 2023. You totally deserve the LEC MVP award that you got. All true. And Mickey X this year has not been that same player. He's been making a lot more mistakes, but now he comes out with his god tier support Poppy. And this shit is so fucking fun to watch. And they're just brutally picking it in the first round of draft right now and daring people
every single game.
It's going to be banned. Yes. Yeah,
and
it's
that is why
definitely
Top Esports is going to beat them.
Because Mickey can't play Poppy.
Yeah, because Mickey can, like, that's by far Mickey's best champion.
I want to see him play more psychopathic Hail of Blades, Dead Man's Plate Poppy. It's great.
I think
I'm
Top
really
Esports is a team that respects a lot of like one tricks. Like that's kind of how like LPL is in general. That's one thing that's very core to LPL is when people are really good at one champion, they normally ban it out. Like Vince Jax is still getting banned. Even when Jax isn't even good anymore, it's still getting banned in things like finals. You have a lot of players that are specifically good on special picks. Like You Should Know Me was really good at these carry top laners. They did the same thing versus him where they would ban him out. Nidalee was something Jun and Lan used to play when they were on bad teams. Well, I mean, Lan's still on a pretty bad team, but when he was on a worse team and Shun was on a terrible team a couple years ago, that was another pick that people would ban out against them. So I feel like the way LPL approaches players that are specifically good on something, they don't try to beat it. They're not like, oh, like I'm going to pick this champion and his champion won't be able to play into it. It's like, he's so good at that. Why are we even going to play that game? Let's play more of our own game. You saw that when they played against APA. Like other teams are leaving their Reliant Soul. Like Fnatic didn't respect APA as much as Top Esports did. Top Esports looked at APA. They're like, oh, he's good on these champs. Ban out the champions he's good at. And then we're going to beat him like a fucking drum when he's on everything else. Where Fnatic tried to leave up they let him play Talia. Or did they let him play Talia? I'm not sure if he got a Talia game, but
he played it in game 1 and did very well.
Okay, yeah. So he got his Talia game in, he got his ASOL game in. I remember that one. Like they just let him have his champions, then he just popped off. So yeah. I mean, I think that's the difference is Top Esports will just ban out what G2's strong at, and I don't think that Caps will be able to carry the team hard enough. Also, I'm not sure if like teams are banning Rek'Sai. I'm not sure if the Rek'Sai jungle is actually good. I feel like it's kind of fake.
I don't know. I think I think in certain compositions it worked really well. One thing that I thought was really good about what G2 was doing was that they were playing the Zac Rek'Sai together. And so you get tremor sense for Zac engage, and they were using that really effectively. So I think there are certain compositions, and the way they were following up on Zac engage with the Rek'Sai tunnel and additional knockups, plus if you have, I think that was actually one of their more effective games in terms of teamwork. So I think it's probably not ban worthy, but I think it could be dangerous. But anyway, I think G2 has been great. I also love their level 1s. They're the only team that really respects level 1s in the world, it seems like at times. Finally, somebody punished Faker for the ward he puts on Raptors every single game. Every game he puts the ward onto Raptors. And every game it's there. He sneaks it in there every single game. I just started calling it the Faker ward in my VOD reviews because it's been like this for like a year. And it just goes up, usually around 120 every single game, so he can get the vision onto the enemy jungler. And finally, G2 was like, but what if we just stacked right here and killed you? And that was great. So I like it. They put up a very good fight versus T1. Super close series. I think they're gonna beat Top.
There you go, EU fans. Here's some copium, some fresh copium right here. Delicious right here from Power Spike.
This is the matchup I wanted too. Like there were a few matchups that we wanted to see. I wanted to see BLG Gen G, and I wanted to see G2 Top Esports. Those were the two matches I want to see. We get them both. Fuck yes.
I wanted to see BLG T1 as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Thought that was a huge series.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Top Esports, they are your low-key kind of choice here. What would stop them from getting... Actually, how do they beat one of the top 2 teams there? How about that?
Wait, which team?
In the high key, so BLG, Gen G.
Which team beats them?
Which
G2
team?
or Top?
Oh, top.
How does Top Esports beat them?
Yeah.
I mean, Top Esports, I think versus BLG, it's really hard because they're known so well. But I think versus Gen G, they just need to get level 1s and like matchups that are just simply better for them, and they can just use their superior like individual skirmishing and fighting and stuff. They use that to actually win the game instead of playing into like Gen G's games. I think the approach they had in like the first game was tough because they were trying to like catch the wave, and then Gen G just completely slaughtered them because they fucked up the lane swap. So they're playing a game where I felt like they could have won, but they were down 2k to start. So if they weren't down 2k to start, and they actually had a better lane swap, they probably can win with those types of champs.
Also, Vayne is kind of fake in lane swaps, right? Because if the Vayne gets behind, like the Vayne is both weak to being dove and, as we discussed, pretty difficult to dive with unless you hit level 2. And so if the Vayne falls behind, you can't put sidewave pressure, and then you don't have TP, and you're fucked. So I'm not super sold on the Vayne tops, honestly.
All right, we'll keep that in mind as we move forward throughout the rest of the tournament. These Vayne tops in lane swaps. All right, and that leaves everyone else. The 3 other teams. What do we got? TL in there. I guess you guys got the inverses there. So top and G2 both in there. Who's the
TL
team
and T1's in there though, which is kind of
T1.
surprising.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that
both
we're
of you
just
all
counting
just
them
no
out.
faith on T1, but we kind of like highlighted at the top of the show all their issues that they've had, the champ pool issue specifically.
They just don't seem cut out for this meta. I think that's the unfortunate thing.
I mean, I'm. It's like I'm just never gonna be high key or low key excited to see T1 unless they're like terrible. Like if T1 was terrible, I would be like high key excited to see them because I love watching them lose. But like, I'm not excited to see them play against like G2 or top esports potentially. You know, like it would be kind of yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of hard for those teams to win. So I don't know. Whatever. I'll watch T1 throughout the tournament, but I'm not high key excited or low key excited.
There you go. Sorry, T1 fans. No solace here. I don't know why you would try to find any reprieve here between the 3 of us.
Yeah.
But those are our high key, low key, and no key pay. Give me some TL hopium. Give me some TL hopium. What did you like out of the series, and what did you see out of the guys? Because we spent most of the time shitting on Fnatic, rightfully so.
This is the end of the road. They got as far as they're gonna get.
Come on, Monty. Come on.
They got top 6. Okay. They are not a top 6 team in the world. We are now dealing with 5 teams who are among probably the top 8 teams in the world. Team Liquid is not a top 8 team in the world. It is not possible for them to go further. It is not possible for them to beat T1. It is not possible for them to beat other teams. They are clearly a level below all of the remaining teams.
I'm really trying very hard to find some way to cope my way out of this using
it's okay. It's totally reasonable.
The Mancake weed whacker here. I have it.
I mean, I would shave APA off this team because there's no way that he's going to compete with Cream, Caps, Faker, Chovy, and Knight. It's just an unfortunate look. You can't win a nuclear war with a pistol. Okay, you know what I mean? It could be a great pistol, dGon. You ain't winning the nuclear war.
He's got 5 champs. Faker's got like 3. He's got 5. He's got A-Soul. He's got Tristana.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, when APA moves his mouth, it just makes the other team mad. When Faker moves his mouth, it makes his team win games.
Well, I mean, it made him mad and a clean sweep. So, just throw that one out there. Okay. Well, sorry again, fans. I tried. Or not a clean sweep. It was 3-1, but whatever. It felt like a clean sweep. It was a 1-0 NA versus EU. It felt great. Sorry, TL fans. No copium here from the guys, and it'll probably just get worse when we go to.
This is a great result for Team Liquid. This is an excellent result for Team Liquid, but you can only go so far.
I think it's like an okay result for Team Liquid. Like I think that's expected. I think the 1 seed from NA should be better than the 2 seed from EU.
There was a little nerves there, man. They looked like shit.
Yeah. But EU also, I've said this famously multiple times. EU also looked like shit. So it's like, I don't prioritize.
Famous words by Dom. EU looks like shit. 2020.
Mad Lions specifically, they look like even more shit like than the rest of the teams. They couldn't even sniff this level of competition. They wouldn't win a game at this tournament. Anyways, more importantly, I don't prioritize like certain types of shit over other types of shit. Like shit is just shit to me. Like once I expel it from my body, I don't care how it looked. I don't care how it felt. It's like it's a business decision for me.
All right. Well, I'm going to make the business decision to tell our fans Make sure to let us know in the comments below who you have at the high key, low key, no key positions for the tournament. Of the 6 teams who are left, are we all just I guess BLG and Gen G aficionados, or do we have some copium takes here? Because I'm alone in this one, guys. I'm alone in this one, guys. I hope G2 does well. I hope TL does well. I maybe surprise somebody. What is success for TL? A game? Looking good in a 3-0, an 0-3 sweep? Like, what is success for our squad? Go ahead,
I
Monty.
just have
Come
no
on.
success that they're. I have no expectations that they're going to do anything in this best of 5.
They're going through. They're getting 3-0 like pretty hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, TL. This is the thing about TL, and we saw it versus top esports. They can potentially like play a game out from a winning position, right? But when they play against a team that has like significantly better individual skill than them, they will never get a winning position, and they don't know how to like cross map and like get their team ahead from behind. If they're behind, they're just going to stay behind. So
Hey Dom, who knows how to get their team ahead from behind via cross mapping?
I mean, maybe like
T1?
T1, maybe Gen G, like probably like top
Yeah.
East, probably
Who are they
teams.
playing? Like T1? Oh yeah, that's
like
not
they
gonna
could
go well.
maybe they could have an outside chance versus like G2 if G2 showed up and like played bad individually, because G2 does sometimes have just stinkers. But I think that TL, when they play against any Asian team, they're just going to be so gapped in lanes that it's very hard for them to do anything. Like the Lucian Nami was good for Mia, and I thought that was like probably some of the best games I've seen him play. It's not Elkin on playing Lucian Nami. T1's not going to look like they did today when they play against it.
Gosh. All right. Well, again, let us know in the comments below who you got at the high key, low key, no key favorites for taking it all here, as we have just about a little under a week left in the tournament. All right. Well, with that done, I'm going to do the thing that I always say I'm going to try to do and then sometimes forget, but I haven't forgot now, like 3 weeks in a row. It's time to go through some of the comments from last week's video. Last week we talked about, and I think I spurred this one, how the play-ins felt bad. We talked about format. So we talked about a couple things. The play-ins portion didn't feel very great. It just, came down to PSG, FlyQuest, top and T1, right? Trying to vie for those spots. And Fnatic, top 5 teams vie for 4 spots. But a lot of people said that they liked this bracket method. And they also liked the bracket method for the tournament because we complained that, oh man, now that first round set of matches are all going to suck. We predicted 3-0s all the way through, which didn't happen.
That was a reasonable prediction. I mean, we're glad it didn't happen, but it was weird that PSG took BLG to 5 games.
But Goldfisher says guaranteeing teams from the same region go on the opposite side is worth the lopsided first round to me. The thing I hate the most at international LoL tournaments is watching teams from the same region play each other. So I think that's a fair take. Like, you just have to suffer through, theoretically bad first round matchups.
Yeah, but this is all, you have to remember that this is all just, you guys have been brainwashed by Riot because you think this is normal when League of Legends is an extremely abnormal esport in the history of esports, and that we don't regularly have international tournaments like in every single other esport that has ever existed, basically. And so the reason why you want to see more interregional play at international events is because we only have 2 international events. So really it's just a fault of the circuit, because if we just had more international events, you wouldn't care.
That's true.
So fuck domestic leagues. Create the Super League, Riot. Do it. G2 will be much better. You guys actually want the based G2? Then have them practice every day with Korean and Chinese teams in the Super League.
Yep. That would be sick.
20-team Super League. Let's go.
Yep. That would be an interesting format. I mean, it'd be sick, yes, but I do like, domestic championships, especially meaning something. Maybe we'll see what happens if it's
you can keep the domestic leagues. They just turn into tier 2. It's fine.
I've thought about this idea a lot lately, how like in Europe with soccer, you have the best teams play in Champions League and then they still have to play in their domestic league, and then they still have their
I
national
know it was
tournament.
really. I agree, dGon. It was really a shame that they failed to make the Super League in Europe, which would have just been all Champions League, which would have been much more rad than domestic leagues.
Well,
I just tilted every European, but in your core, in your heart of heart, Europeans, you know I'm right.
you did tilt every European. Even you say that to me bothered me a little bit. I was like, yeah, but the league, the history. But one
don't
thing
care.
that happens in those sports with those many matches is that you have to sub teams out. Like you have to have subs, or you play, like a mix of teams. I know League of Legends is a different game, but I think just that kind of concept, because the more matches that we have, the more theoretically that you can more exposure that it has, the more you can sell against it, and the more TV rights, blah, blah, blah. Obviously TV rights thing, and you can go watch Summoning Insight or the Four Horsemen on why esports is failing right now very easily, but it does create opportunities for more international competition by just simply having more competitions. So and more opportunities for players to play, which means you have more.
Don't worry,
more
we'll get the more international competitions that we want. It's just not the way we want to have them, which is via Saudi Arabia. So, we got the cursed monkey paw wish, unfortunately.
Yeah. I just watched a movie that was kind of like that. That was, gosh, what was it? The Talk Show with the Devil or something like that. It was really good. Next up, we had idea on perks, because we brought up perks stepping away for a little bit. Regarding the perks opinions out there, this is from Bones. It's so weird to me when people hate on aging or declining goats. You see it all the time in hockey and some other sports too, and it just makes no sense to me. In their head, they can only think one person is good at one time. It is I don't think we're hating on perks as a whole career. We were just saying he wasn't very good lately, and
That was trash.
That's true.
He was really bad.
Yeah.
No, I think he's talking about like the people, because I remember I said something about like how for some reason people it's hard for people to say that Perks was the second best player of all time in the West. So I think he's actually taking our side versus the community, where the community will just loves to shit on him, because that thread was disgusting for a player of his caliber to retire and to just be met with or step away. I mean, who knows if he actually ends up retiring? But
yeah, fuck that guy that won MSI for Europe.
Fuck that guy who was one of the most instrumental players in the history of Europe. The only reason you got the best European team ever was because one of the two best mid laners in the region, one of the two best players in the region, wanted to go and play a secondary role so that the player that was the best player in the region could play his main role on the same team. That was the only reason why you got this level of success for Europe. So I don't know. For me, it was just annoying to see. More than anything, it's just people have no memory at all. I mean, people have no. It's so obvious because you look at other people. Doublelift might as well just be a fucking normal Twitch viewer, right? People don't remember that Knight beat Faker in a best of 5 last year. People don't remember that he won MSI last year. Most people don't even consider. People are like, he's an international choker. It's how about when he fucking made every other mid laner at the tournament choke on his dick and he took an MSI trophy down? How about that, bro? What people were calling him a choker because Faker had great plays in the series versus Knight, but people forget how those games were going. Up until the owner Rel engage in game 3 in the semifinals of Worlds, JDG had a fucking 3K gold lead going into that fight. And then they got Baron and everything, and it wasn't until Faker made that Azir play on mid when they were down 5K and the enemy team was pushing with Baron that the series really turned. Game 4, JDG was winning as well, and then Kanavi ran it down multiple times. The way that people process this type of stuff was they view it as T1 showed up to Worlds and just spanked JDG all 4 games. That is how people remember it. That is the narrative that I'm fighting against all the time, is that wow, T1 was so much better than every LPL team. It's no, T1 was so much better than Weibo and Weibo and fucking LNG. They were not significantly better than JDG. That was a series that they won, but that was if you're gonna say, oh, this is a close 3-1, a close 3-0, whatever, that was a close 3-1. That was a war between the two best teams in the world, I should say. The two best teams in the world played a best of 5, and that was a close best of 5 where T1 was better than JDG.
Yeah, Again, fans, stop rewriting history. Just know your history. And again, perks.
Also, stop hating Perks. What a weird thing to hate. He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so annoying. It's so annoying for me. It is what it is though.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. Quick last one. We don't have to comment on it too much, but I think it was a point. Dom, you'd brought up like, hey, what was the last team Anero coached? Because lately we've known Anero as the general manager, and that's when they found the success last year. That was the fuck you split with the hats and the cutting
Yeah.
the orange. Anero made third with the Dardakuni Echo Fox roster in the spring. They were basically the second best team in playoffs as the only team not 3-0'd by TL. So there's some facts dropped for us by Paradox Pope. Again, I test
Echo
these
Fox
guys.
2018.
That's right. I test these guys all the time on everything. And
Yep.
all right, you got us. You got us. All right, there are some of the comments from last week's show. Make sure to hop in to this week's show as well and let us know what you think about this show, and maybe you'll be highlighted on there. A good way to get on the show is to have some better comments and bettering yourself. And a good way to better yourself in 2024 is with our other new sponsor joining us on to the show. It's Babbel, the science-backed language learning app that actually works. You don't have to pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the language. This is actually true because we had the opportunity to get our hands on the Babbel, and I've used multiple different language learning tools before. Babbel has great scenarios that help you use real life language, if that makes sense. A lot of the other language apps, they'll be like, here's a picture. This is the word.
Yeah,
But
they gamify it a lot, right?
yeah.
I will say, like, so I was using this dGon. My French is decent, so I decided, why don't I brush up on my French a little bit?
Yeah.
And it like popped me into intermediate French. And it is based off of conversations, like,
Mhm.
and so the cool thing about this is like each lesson will have several phrases that are used, and then what happens is you practice using those phrases in different ways. So for example, it has speech recognition software, so it actually has you do listening and then speaking back, right, and then verifying that you're pronouncing it properly through speech recognition. And then it like sets up text message conversations as if you're having like you're just texting somebody in that language, and using those phrases again. So it really does hammer them home. I found it to be pretty effective.
Yeah, I did it for both Portuguese and then to brush up on my Spanish. They have European Spanish and they had Latin American Spanish. So I kind of know both. But I worked on my Latin American Spanish, and the conversation that we had was you're overhearing a conversation about a coworker asking the other coworker if they like shows, but she was basically asking him on a date, and he was trying to specify what kind of show it was to decide if he wanted to go on a date or not. And in typical guy faction was being a dummy about it until he realized it was a date. And he's like, "Oh no, I'll go on. I love musicals. I'll do it. I'll see you at 6 p.m. on Thursday." And I was like, "Oh, I understood all of that." Well, definitely using Babbel with its scenarios that are set up, the voice recognition, and the science-backed language learning is going to be a great boon for you. If you've ever had the goal of picking up a language, it has so many European languages on there that would be great. If you want to be a
And
great
Indonesian too.
and they also had Indonesian. Yeah, sorry, Indonesia. I forgot about that one in there. That has Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. If you want to be a great mid laner and communicate with them, Danish is on there. I thought that was fascinating. I was like, oh, because a lot of the time apps will give you like a whole bevy of languages to learn, and it's just basic. But this felt like, wow, this is all applicable. I want to use this when I go on the dance floor.
That's
I want to use
practical.
this when I order food. I want to use this to make small talk in conversation. It felt very great. So, friends, we have our limited time offer for our for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off. 60% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/spike. So the code this time is Spike. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/spike. BABBEL.com/spike. Rules and restrictions may apply, but make sure to better yourself, learn a language, connect with the world a little bit better. through our friends over at Babbel. Thank you so much, Babbel, for supporting Power Spike and Last Free Nation. All right. Finally, closing it off for the day, we've got our Galaxy Brain Club. We've talked about the performances in the past, about teams that are done and dusted, performances also in the past that kind of gave us a power ranking. And now it's time to look to the future. Let's look at these matchups here in our Galaxy Brain Club for MSI. I think results will, time will tell. So let's try to predict on how these things are going to play out. We got the 3 matches currently lined up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total left in MSI. T1 versus TL, Top Esports versus G2, both on the lower side of the bracket. And then the cream of the crop without cream on the top side of the bracket. I don't know what it's late, guys. Gen G versus BLG in the winter bracket finals.
We've all been up all night, guys. So give us some slack.
All right, so let's start there. Gen G BLG best of 5, winner moves to the grand finals. How does this one play out, and what's going to be the important matchup for both these squads? Let's start with you, Dom.
I mean, it's pretty hard. I mean, I feel like there's almost like no matchup that's important. It's going to be a complete slaughter, in my opinion.
You think it's going to be a slaughter?
Wait, you said TL? Wait, what did you say? You said
Gen G BLG.
Gen G BLG. Gen G BLG.
Oh, Gen G BLG? Oh,
yeah,
the important matchup for Gen G BLG. Oh, because I thought we were going in order of the matches. Okay. The Gen G BLG, I would say that it's just going to be bot side. Can bot side hold on for Gen G?
Engine versus Canyon, I think, is going to be very important. Like, it could just turn into divided map, like top side versus bot side. But I think with Bin's improving performance, that's going to be an interesting thing to track. I'm looking forward to the Keen Bin matchup personally. And obviously Chovy Knight is so huge. I think we've all been waiting years for that one. So that's Chovy versus Knight is probably the premier matchup that we're going to see in this series. And we'll have to see if Chovy can continue his like laning reign of terror.
I just feel like it's not that important how mid lane is going to like be operating in this type of series. Like they'll probably just be like wave clearing against each other most of the time, unfortunately.
Oh boy. And more Zach versus Cassante matchups in top, the dream.
No, I mean, that's what I was saying when I was watching today's series. I'm like, this is my personal hell. You go to a fucking international tournament and you get Bin versus Zeus, the 2 best carry top laners in the entire world, and they're playing Zach versus Cassante into each other.
Well, I feel like that's how game 1 is going to go. I do feel like both these mid laners are going to take the gloves off by game 3, and they're going to be like, okay, put the eggs in my basket. You two on the bottom side of the map just fucking hold on. You on the top side of the map slap each other with the tank boys or the Intofo sticks, and then come here and sit in my lane, junglers. Like I feel like it should be that way. Maybe not because it is the winners bracket finals and not the grand finals, but I would hope that you get to see that. I would hope that would happen. Who do you got winning or what are the percentages of each team winning here? Because I feel like you got BLG. So what are your picks and what are the percentages? Monty, let's start with you.
I think it's like probably 55-45 to BLG. So I think BLG probably takes this one just based on the form that we've seen most recently from these teams. And I know Gen G was happy gaming a bit in round 1 versus Fnatic, but I was also it was a very high level match that they played against Top Esports, but honestly, Gen G was taking a lot of like really stupid dragon fights for no reason in that series. And I didn't really understand like a lot of their decision making. Even though we've seen 3 players now swapped out from last year, Gen G still feels like they have this weird thing where they're getting sucked into the other team's plays, which has been a problem for them internationally in the past, which makes me think that it wasn't Peanut, that it may have been Chovy, because they're kind of just like, they get drawn into the other team's gravity when normally they would just cross map domestically. Now they're doing it again. And that always makes me nervous with them because they play into the other team's style and they never succeed when they do that.
Tom, what do you got for winners of percentages?
I've got it like 60-40 probably. I think that this should be a harder series for Gen G than, or I mean, this should be an easier series for BLG than the T1 series was. That's the best way to phrase it. Like I think T1 matches up better into BLG than Gen G does, because Gen G normally does not really like counter plays very much, where I feel like T1 does play to counter plays. And I feel like if Genji plays similarly to how they played against top, like they had a lot of like over dives and things like this, and they like would randomly run it down with advantages. If they make those types of mistakes, I think it's pretty hard for them to win versus BLG. Like they need to choke out BLG and just play better macro.
All right, boom. There you go. You got
also the other thing too about BLG was that they actually showed some really good macro in the T1 series, which really hasn't been characteristic of them. But that final game, I thought, you know, they showed me more macro than I've seen in the past, which also is a terrifying new addition to BLG.
All right, boom. That's our winner bracket matchup. Now let's move down to the bottom side. Give me the percentage of TL. How does TL win? How does TL win? What is the way that Yappa and the boys, Yappa in America, can rally here on a reeling, just fresh off of a lost T1?
I mean, they probably just they probably need APA to just tell T1 members that T1 members are playing with 35 ping, and then they won't be able to play the game anymore. So you just have to type 35 ping in chat, like just make a macro and just have it spammed in chat the entire game to distract them.
You just tilt them. That was the old Reddit way to beat T1 many years ago. A brave Redditor said that they should just tilt them, and APA's figured it out. So Faker's English is pretty good, so he's gonna shit talk Faker, and Faker, the veteran of dozens of finals at this point in his career, is going to be so shaken to his core by the terrifying words of APA in the language of English that he will lose.
Do we does anyone feel like it would be, I just feel like it's almost blasphemous and so fucking, like, you can shit talk Europe. Like, go shit talk, like, you know, Marek. He can take it, you know. You can shit talk Cream. Like, whatever. You know, he's young. But shit talking the GOAT, I feel like, you know, is that just feels so like blasphemous.
I think Faker should just type in all caps "quiet peasant" and just leave it at that.
Imagine like Faker just gets insanely triggered, and then like you see like APA type one thing, and then Faker just like starts insulting his mother in all chat and shit. Like that would be my fucking GOAT right there. I hope that Faker puts him in his place.
No, please, not the mother. I think she watches our show. She interacts with all the tweets.
I mean, I wish Faker would flame my mother. I feel like that's like some honor, you know. Faker recognized me type vibes, you know.
Yeah. Okay, maybe APA could explain that if Faker does clap back. I would like to see a Faker clap back, even if it's just like just subtle. Like a Faker clapback would be epic. Monty, help me. Is there a way? Is there any way? Is there what's the hope angle? What's the hope angle here for TL?
A meteor strikes the T1 part of the stage.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the level that I'm at. It's like it's actually just impossible to win. It's really actually impossible. Like
it's like 95-5.
No, way higher than that. I mean,
99-1.
You think if they play this 20 times, TL wins once?
No, I don't. That's true.
I think maybe if they play 20 times, TL could win like a game, a certain amount of maybe like TL could win 3 games out of fucking 60. Like, I don't know. It seems like impossible. There's nothing that TL does better than T1, and they're worse in lanes. It's so unwinnable. It's crazy.
All right, I tried, chat. I did my best. I will say, I just last moment of just copium, and it's not even like for this series. I had so much fun hitting retweet on everything TL and NA better than EU, and APA is like coming out of like the stage when it was all blue with like that guy yelling at you about all the haters or whatever. Like that like 2-hour euphoria was like awesome, and then I went to bed. But it was great. It was mini NRG feeling from Worlds, and this is the part where
dGon lives for these moments.
I do because like I don't. dislike European fans. I like the European team. Like at some point, it's go Team West. It's usually go Team G2.
I dislike all stupid fans equally.
Yes. And yes, I dislike all stupid fans equally too, right? When TSM was the team that was the best, like we had to cheer for him like when they were the last North American team, but every moment before that, they were dumb. We just let them know how dumb they were.
I miss TSM losing. I think one of my peak joy moments in League of Legends was the 06 TSM vindication for their horrific crimes of Zillion mid winning game 5s in North America.
Yep.
Yeah, that happened a lot. TSM fans. Sorry. Everyone's catching strays today. Sorry, Cloud9 fans. Sorry, FlyQuest fans. All right. Positive guy is now out of positivity for North America. Let's move on over to top esports.
The G2. Well of positivity has run dry, and now
yeah, we haven't even played the series yet. I'm just trying to
filled with the blood of Team Liquid.
I'm just trying to temper the hurt that's gonna happen in a couple days. That's all.
dGon, it's not gonna hurt because there is no hope. You can't hurt without hope.
There's always a little hope.
No,
like you got the shit on Fnatic. It gave me a little hope, you know. The 5% sounded pretty good to me, Monty. I thought it was also around like 2%. All right. Top esports.
We already talked about the top esports G2 one in our low key, but I'm taking claps over cream here. I believe in G2. We're not gonna see any more weird ass Kog'Maw. They fixed it all up. Top esports isn't gonna ban Poppy. Mickey X is gonna Poppy all over them. I love it. That's how it's gonna go. G2 over top esports.
Give me a percentage, Monty.
52.
All right, Tom. Let's hear the percentage.
Look, 369 hasn't been as good.
He hasn't. That's true.
Broken Blade's been better than expected. Look, I think this is the time. G2, it's your time to strike again. Let's go.
Yeah, I've got G2 losing probably they'll probably go like 2-3 or something, maybe 1-3, and I think it's like 55% chance for top esports to win, I guess. I mean, I think the big thing to look at is Hans has been the worst performing member of G2, and JackeyLove has been the best performing. Well, maybe not the best. I mean, Mako's also been really fucking good, but JackeyLove is like a lot better than Hans. So that could be the whole series right there.
It does. We've seen what JackeyLove has been doing to other AD carries.
No more Belveth level 1s, please. I love your level 1s, G2, but I can't watch another Belveth does nothing
pick Viego
game.
there, man. I was screaming for Viego.
Oh, the Viego pick would have been so good. Why didn't they just say? I mean, even Xin Zhao would have at least been useful. My favorite thing about that was like they sacrificed Belveth to get their bot lane ahead, and then Jinx didn't carry, and then Belveth just ran around in circles doing nothing every fight.
I feel like Xin must have not been up. There's no way Xin was up. Was it?
Xin was up.
Really?
Yeah. Xin and Viego were up.
Xin and Viego were up.
All right, let's read some of these on our predictions here. G2 is getting
the Belveth incident.
Oh my god.
G2 is getting creep-eyed. No way around it. Hans looks invisible. The LDR thing. What can someone try to explain to me why Hans is losing to Boris on the biggest stage? Like what, he's done it a billion times, doesn't build the LDR. Like what's up with that?
Look, it wasn't good, but they weren't going to win the game if he built LDR. They might have won the game if they had picked Viego.
I mean, if he flashed when Faker went in on him, maybe he wins the game. But yeah, I mean, I think LDR would have helped, but
it would have helped, but it wasn't like it was never at a point where like Zeus was anywhere near dying.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Hans can turn around and have a good series. But it does feel like a top esports favorite kind of thing. What's the percentage on it, Dom? Top versus G2.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like,
I already gave my thing.
What was?
I already said it.
What was it? I forgot.
45-55.
Okay, boom, done. All right, y'all. There you have it. Those are the previews of the matches that we got. We've got a high chance that a BLG will take this one overall. Do you want to just go through the bracket then? We should just fill out the bracket. Yeah. Top esports versus T1? Like, what do you have there?
Well, I have G2, in which
What do you
case
have
I would
G2
have
with T1?
T1 winning
Okay.
again.
Mhm.
Dom, what do you have?
I would have T1 as favorites, but I think top esports could definitely win. I'm not like on the side of like Reddit where it's like even top esports. Like, no, I think that's going to be a close series. I think there are things that, like, I think that right now the second best bot lane in the tournament. So it's Elk and On are the best bot lane in the tournament. I think Jackie and Mako look like the second best bot lane in the tournament. I think that will still be a advantage for them over T1 if T1 still keeps the same priorities, because T1, like, I'm surprised. I mean, they're not playing the same as they did before. They were a team that previously really liked playing Ashe, and then now Ashe is up and they're picking, Kalista Renato over it. And I just think that that's just not who they are. And if they
I
keep
couldn't
on playing
believe
like that,
man.
they will. I think they'll lose to top esports if they play like that.
I think that's a fair assessment there. Yeah, Jackie Love has been pretty great, and T1's been a little out of sorts, but that puts our predictions very weird. So then we have BLG winning in the upper bracket finals. That leaves Gen G versus T1 / top esports. We just
Gen G wins that. We get a rematch of upper bracket.
and then we get the rematch of upper bracket. BLG.
I mean, I think
probably
it's probable that we get Gen G versus BLG in either of these situations, right?
I mean, love to see that twice. That seems pretty great.
It would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get 2 Game 5 bangers between Gen G, BLG, and we get some really good lower bracket matches,
it's like the best tournament of all time.
This is probably the best league tournament ever. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I agree.
Boom. All right, there you have it. Those are our predictions for the tournament, and a potential prediction for the best tournament ever. Who knows?
It's shaping up. I mean, the matches have been really good so far. They've been really good. Like the upper bracket quarters were better than expected. We've had some cool like storylines and upsets. The top teams have played really competitive matches, like very high level League of Legends against each other. Like both of the upper bracket semis were really good.
Boom. Well, the tournament will return and continue on Tuesday. So Tuesday morning at 2 a.m. for the
and
West
now we
Coasters.
only have one best of 5 a day, so we can really hone in on it,
Yeah. No more cramming it on in. We lucked out. Some of these days are pretty fast. But some of them weren't. So all right. Well, anyways, sorry. Long day. We're done now. Thank you for watching. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. Make sure, if you have not done so already, take the time right now, like and subscribe. Subscribe to our channel. It helps us continue to put out this content with you. Yep. Thanks to our friends over at Manscaped.
So you can pick up a sexy Spanish girl with your newly shaved ball sack.
Yeah, see, our sponsors have internal synergy with each other.
Exactly.
Sounds right.
Exactly.
Yep. Just follow Mr. Rivera again for more tips on how to do that. That would work out. You can catch both their content, I guess all of our content on MSI. Dom will be doing the live view or the co-streams. Monty was doing bangers only. Saw him do it this morning. And I'm still in the process of moving. Finally, congratulate me. I hit diamond for the first time ever.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now do it in Korea.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's the hope.
I hit challenger for the first time ever this year, or at least that's what people will tell you. I just accept it at this point. It is what it is.
Our fans know the truth. You're challenger forever. You've been challenger every year, right?
Not season 13, but I didn't play in season 13. I played I played TFT. Yeah, every time I play, I can normally get it. Yeah.
Boom.
Up until who knows? Maybe this is the last time I ever hit it. But I think if I start picking if we get a Udyr, Hecker, or Rek'Sai meta, I'm probably gonna get challenger.
Yeah, Udyr's coming. I know that they're gonna buff it just for you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you after the finals on Sunday. Right? Is that when our next one is?
No, we'll probably do it early the following week, so we don't have to live through this torture any longer.
That's right. Then we can go back to living like humans. I forgot we're doing this because
I think all of us would appreciate maybe doing this a day or two later at stay tuned to Last Redation social media. That it will let you know.
Yeah, so we'll let you know ahead of time, but we'll break down all the action from what could potentially be the best tournament in the history of League of Legends next week. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you. Bye.